designers do, and if you think about what they used to do a few years ago, and if you would ask a developer or somebody that is working in the IT sector, they would reply these. Designers make nice things. Because designers were in IT companies to make nice graphics, to take care about the general look and feel of a product, to design nice icons, that's all. But in the last few years, something happened. Things changed, and the whole approach, the way we design products, we develop products, and we implement them, changed a lot. New methodologies came up. People came up with something called design thinking. People start thinking about how important it is to think about users since the very first moment you start designing something. And at the same time, the way designers work with the other people in the companies change. So we have a way more integrated way to work with the other teams, especially in the IT sector. We have designers that work with developers and with business people, so project manager. I think we have a few of them here tonight. And as I said before, the whole approach changed because since the very first moment, especially in big companies like the one I currently work, since the very first moment, these people get together and they discuss what the final outcome is going to be, how to proceed, what are the strategic decisions that we have to take in order to get a certain product at the end. And the role of the designers changed a lot because designers can bring to the table a new point of view. Designers think a lot about users. They really try to predict what they need. They really try to think about what could be a solution to meet their requirements, their needs, to solve their problems. They don't not only think about how nice is a product, but also how usable is it, how accessible is it. And for all these reasons, designers now are evil. Well, I have to say, more and more developers, more and more project managers love to work with designers, but at the same time, for the reasons that I mentioned before, they don't like to work with designers because designers are always there to say, this thing doesn't work, this thing needs to be fixed, these things need to be pixel perfect, we are not doing what users want, we need to change these, we have to go to this other direction. So tonight here I would like to share with you a few things that I learned in the last few years of my career. And there are just a few tips, just to survive if you are a designer and you work in the software IT sector. This is the first tip, develop empathy. As a designer, the first thing you do, you develop empathy with your users. You put yourself in your user's shoes, you try to understand what they need, what they want, or just to predict what they want, because sometimes they don't really know what they want, actually most of the time. And the same empathy, you have to develop it with the other people you are going to work with, so with the developers. I think that most of the designers nowadays have experience in working with a remote team. Personally, I've been working for more than 1.5 years with people that are based in US, people that are based in India, somewhere else in Europe. I never met them. I don't know how they look like. And actually, one of my colleagues, she's there, she had a great idea once. She offered to have a meeting, the very first meeting before we actually kicked off the project, in which we created a mural online. And each of the professionals that were involved in the process was supposed to share a few things about themselves, something really personal. So you were supposed to introduce yourself, say what's your role, what are your skills, but also something maybe funny about you, or something that you like, your hobbies. And that exercise really helped to develop empathy with the people that probably you'll never meet in real life, but you will have to work with for 6 months, 1 year, so far and so forth. So the relationship really changed, and you start trusting each other, liking each other, disliking each other as well. Second tip, be the user's voice. Said before, designers are there because they want to bring to the table what users want, what users need. They are there to listen to them, and they have all the tools to do that. They do primary user research at the beginning of the design process. They test the product with them, they test the accessibility if there is any issue, and you explore, you learn, and you have to share with other people because everybody needs to be aligned. Everybody needs to know what the hell are we doing when we are designing something? This is a big tip that I want to give to all the designers. So agree since the very first moment on the deliverables. It's really important that whatever you deliver to the dev team, they need to understand it. So try to add as more details as possible on your slides, on your prototype, on whatever you are delivering to them. Somebody says if you have to explain a user interface, maybe that user interface is not that good. But those people have to implement it, not use it. So sometimes they try to figure out how it works, but sometimes they don't really care. So they really do what they want, or they really do what they are used to do. So you end up with maybe some drop-down where you plan to have some other solution like a radio button, and you want to avoid that. So it's really important that you are super clear about the kind of interaction that you're going to have on your product, where the user has to click, how many times, so far and so forth. So this will help you to be all on the same page and to have a full control of what they are delivering. Be flexible. Sorry for the cheesy picture, but I think it's really important to be flexible or at least agile. One of the things that I heard the most from developers when I presented my wires, they were like, we can't do this. And it's probably the sentence that I hate the most. And I was like, what do you mean with I can't do this? I know that you have all the skills, capabilities, and people to do that. Maybe you mean you don't want to do this. And, you have to be a bit diplomatic, try to find a way to convince them to do what you really want to get at the end, but at the same time you have to mediate. So at the end you might get something less, but that is more or less what you design. And of course try to be agile. If you want to work with these people, try to involve them since the very early stages of your design process. Be ready to change many times your design, so they will re-implement it for you many times. Learn some coding. Most of the designers, especially those that call themselves UX designers nowadays, have no idea how to make a prototype, how to do some coding. I'm not really talking about JavaScript, Java, PHP, anything complicated. Just go for HTML, CSS, really the basic. It's really important that you know how to build a website or a product, or at least how things are on the page. This knowledge will also help you, to tackle some accessibility issue if you have to think about what are the sequence of tabs that the user have to use on the keyboard to reach a certain part of the page, and also to speak the same language that these people speak. So you can actually share more and more with them, and you get the right answer if you're asking things to them. Check the deliverables. This is really a big point for me because many times I deliver my design that was probably over detailed in terms of specs to the developers. So I deliver something that was pixel perfect, everything aligned, perfect padding between all the elements on the page, and I end up with something like this that you see on the page, where icons were not aligned, where colors were screwed, paddings were God only knows where it is. So what you have to do, you have to be patient, you have to check their implementation, what they have implemented, you have to ask them to fix it as many times as required. So patience is really a crucial thing in this particular moment, but at the end you will get what you have designed and not what they think that you have designed. Expect the unexpected. As I said before, things can change a lot during the design process. Maybe the project you have been working on for 1 year, 1.5 years gets cancelled, gets closed, and you feel like you have spent 1 year wasting your time. But actually, yesterday I read a very nice quote. It seems that it's from Nelson Mandela, I'm not really sure. But the guy was saying, you never really lose. You either win or you learn. So try to make something out of what you're doing, trying to learn as much as you can from any experience. Catherine saw my presentation the other day and she told me, but what do you think is going to happen next? This is my answer. I think nowadays people are getting closer and closer. They meet each other since the very early stages of the process, and they start talking since the very first moment about what the project is going to be in the future. And they are starting using also the same methodology. Can tell you my experience at IBM. 1 year ago, there were not so many developers or business people with a business background that were familiar with design thinking. Now, more and more people are getting used to it, and they actually like it, and they almost pray us to do a design thinking workshop at the beginning of the process to get involved with it. So what is going to happen in the future is this. More and more people will start using the same methodology to speak the same language. Doesn't matter what's their background. And this will bring people to move from one, let's say, silos to another, from one field to another. We will have more and more designers that will start doing coding, more and more developers that we will do design works, maybe more project manager that will do some coding as well, and so far and so forth. So this is just to wrap up. These were my 8 tips that I shared with you tonight. And yeah, just thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. I hope you like it.